Hi, everybody. I'm Mrs. Krieger. I'm here to talk to you all things testing. So let's get started and let's learn about all the different kinds of tests that are available to students throughout high school and beyond. First, we have the Aspire test. All ninth and 10th grade students take the Aspire test as part of the state testing program. It is based on the ACT, meaning that there's reading, math, English, science, and writing. This test usually takes place in the spring for both ninth and 10th grade. The outcome of taking the Aspire test is to make sure students have an idea of where they are at as far as learning and what they need to do to improve upon their test, the ACT test that they'll eventually take their junior year. The state testing that I mentioned is the ACT. That test is loosely given in February, right around that point of the year. All juniors are required to take the ACT test, and it includes reading, English, math, science, and writing. The highest score is 36. Each college will post their expectations for student scores on their admission page. So that's information readily available to families through the admissions process. The SAT is a lesser known test in our area simply because ACT is part of our state testing program. Some students do take the SAT. It is a test that doesn't have a science section. It just has math, reading, and writing. The SAT is given at local colleges, and like I said, some students take it usually their senior year if they would like to have their score sent to more colleges at national universities across the United States. Many of our students participate in the Advanced Placement or the AP program. Any class that has AP in front of them is a class sponsored by College Board. Students attend the class, learn the material, and then in May they are able to take an AP test. And based on their scores, they could earn college credit for that particular subject class. Then we have the ASVAB. This is a test where anybody who's interested in the military would be taking this because it helps identify the occupations which match your skill sets for the military option. And then, of course, we have college placement tests. College placement tests usually take place in the spring of your senior year. They are required by admitted students at any particular college. The tests that are required by the college vary. But typically there's usually a math or reading or potentially a foreign language placement test that a student could take. So what does that mean for North students? Here's your timeline. Like I said, 9th and 10th graders take the Aspire test. The ACT, which is required by juniors, that is taken the 11th grade year. The SAT, if a student chooses to take that test, would typically take it in the fall of their senior year. A new test that we hadn't talked about yet is the PSAT. The PSAT is a qualifier for the National Merit Scholarship Program. It is optional. The National Merit Scholarship Program test is geared towards juniors. Only juniors are able to compete in the National Merit Scholarship Program. Then we have the AccuPlacer. The AccuPlacer is less taken in these recent years simply because of the ACT and that all students take the ACT, but some students still do take the AccuPlacer, especially when they want to retake just a subject area like math or reading. And the AccuPlacer is available through Mrs. Siebert, who is our connection with FETC here on our North Campus. The AP test that we talked about could be taken at any time, 9, 10, 11, or 12, depending on if you are in the class. And again, it's strongly recommended that students take the class that is associated with the AP test that they would be signing up for. And finally, there is the ASVAB. Along this slide, you also see where the organization's websites are. That's the best way to get information about the test in general. So how do you prepare for these tests that are coming up in your life? The first and foremost is to attend class. The ACT and the SAT are based on subject area that you learn in high school. The more depth you get in each subject area, the more prepared you will be. And the more you attend and the more you engage in the curriculum, it's a way to prepare every day for those test situations. It's also I encourage you to learn about each test, find out how they ask their questions, what subject area, what content they're covering, know that in advance. Doing your research is really important. Again, make sure you visit the ACT.org or collegeboard.com. Those places sponsor these tests. They have the most information and current events about those tests. If you're hearing things like from ACT about super scoring or how they're revamping test sites to be non-paper tests and all online tests, those are sites that I would go to learn the most accurate information about the tests and the updates that they are doing to them. I would also go to the Lightning Connections newsletter, and we frequently get information about prep classes that are out there, and we post them directly on the newsletter. Breaking news? You mean that the ACT isn't required anymore? I don't need it to get into college? Well, let's break this down and get more information. So this was posted on the UW Help site that we talked about earlier, and it states the UW system will not be requiring an ACT or SAT score to be sent for the 2020, 2021, and 21-22 academic year. So that includes you juniors. So it's not required for you as a junior. And the update, UW-Madison says it also includes sophomores. So what does this mean? Do I have to take the ACT? Do I have to send it to my colleges? Let's really think deeper about what this means for you as a student. First of all, I would verify the information. Each college can tell you how they're going to do admissions each year. Make sure that you verify before you make a decision not to take the ACT. And please remember that the ACT is a state test here in Wisconsin. So if it is authorized to give this school year, even with COVID, you still will be required to take the ACT. But verify if your college needs that score. You need information. Check out the admissions page on any college you plan applying to. Number 2, make sure that the ACT isn't required for merit-based aid. So, for example, a college may say, yes, you are not required to have an ACT score. However, if you have an ACT score of 23 and a certain GPA, you may be qualified to get more financial aid from the college, or you might be able to be eligible for a merit-based scholarship. So just because it's not required for admissions doesn't mean you will not need it for merit aid to go to that college. Also, if you've taken the ACT score and you've looked up what a college wants from potential students, if you're within range, why not submit it? It just gives them more information to base their admissions decision on. Remember, admissions decisions are based upon your GPA, your quality of coursework, and of course your test scores if they are included. And finally, colleges are getting creative as well, trying to do this. They've committed for the next almost 3 years to not using ACT. So what other things would they be asking to supplement for the ACT? Some colleges out there are saying they're going to do interviews. Some colleges are going to ask you a COVID question. How did you spend quarantine? And really go over how that works. Remember, colleges are dealing with new transcripts that have COVID statements on them, transcripts that have pass-fails on them. So colleges have to adjust to the system as well. So is an ACT optional or an SAT optional? It really depends. So don't start celebrating yet. Make sure you continue to prepare because it is a state test, but also do your homework on whether it's required and how it might impact any merit-based aids.